6 pregnancy losses, 3 in the second trimester. And when Catherine MacLennan went looking for support, she found almost nothing. Just silence, shame, and a system that sends you home with a pamphlet and no follow-up. So she built the thing she needed. Today, Catherine is walking families through pregnancy loss and pregnancy after loss. In this conversation, we go deep on what almost no one talks about: the trauma that doesn't get named, the partners grieving in silence, the grandparents mourning a grandchild they never met, and the workplace that punish people for falling apart when they should be offering a chair and a coffee. This is a conversation about validation, about redefining who you are after everything gets stripped away, and about what it actually looks like to build the support system that should have existed all along. This is the intersection of pregnancy loss, fertility, trauma, and purpose. Let's get into it. Welcome to the podcast, The Intersection of Pregnancy Loss, Fertility, Trauma, and Purpose, having the conversations that should have been happening all along. Today, I have with me Catherine MacLennan. Catherine is the founder of the Vilomah Foundation, a pregnancy loss support and charity organisation dedicated to walking alongside families through one of the most profound losses. As a specialist coach, Catherine offers personalised support and guidance to individuals and couples who have experienced the loss of a pregnancy, as well as those navigating pregnancy after loss. She also delivers training on pregnancy loss and the workplace. Thank you for joining us, Catherine.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. There was obviously part of something that we were part of together, although being in Australia, that was I wasn't able to be there in person. But when I saw you guys doing what you're doing over in the UK, I was like, I really just wanted to have you here, talk about what you're doing over there and how you're supporting people. So did you want to share a little bit about your story and obviously, how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. So I had 6 pregnancy losses. 3 of those were in the second trimester, and they were all very traumatic. And when I was looking for support, I found it really difficult to find support. My mental health was very poor, and nobody knew really what to do with me. And so I decided that I'd set up something called the Pinks and Blues, which was a community interest company. And that was to support women who'd been through similar experiences to me and their partners. And we set about venues for people so that people could meet together in person. And that was really powerful because it was people sharing their experiences. We had people from all walks of life coming to those meetings and sharing their experiences of loss, and how there was very little support out there in the community for people, and it was that there's a real silence around the telling of stories of pregnancy loss because of shame, because people think that other people don't want to know, they don't want to hear about it. People don't know how to respond to it when you share your experiences. So this was a space where people could actually do that openly and support each other. So it was peer support network. None of us were trained counsellors. We were all coming from a place of experience, of lived experience. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, those sessions had to stop. And I took a few years out for myself as well because I'd been through so much trauma. I hadn't really done any work on myself, and I knew that I needed to do that. And I was really lucky that I found a really supportive psychotherapist who helped me get through my trauma during that period. And then I'd stopped doing the sessions, and we're still hearing on social media and things, why is there no support for pregnancy loss? And I was thinking, this is ridiculous. It's 10 years down the line, and still people are saying, where is the support? And the support is much more than it was back when I started out. I suppose you don't know about the support till you start looking for it and you actually need it, which is when it's hard to actually find, until the keywords to put in on a hashtag to find other people that, like are talking about this similar things to you. And when we were the Pinks and Blues, we were a community interest company. That meant that we could get some funding, but we couldn't get much funding from other sources. We had to raise the revenue ourselves to fund the group. So when in 2023, I decided that I wanted to start up the Vilomah Foundation, I decided we'd set it up as a charity and that we'd do it via Zoom so that we wouldn't have the issues that we had, because venues are very expensive. So it's nice to do things in person, but the costs can be quite ridiculous for hiring nice spaces. You can find spaces that aren't so nice at half the cost, but when you're talking about something like pregnancy loss, you want people to be in surroundings that are, are compassionate to the shared experiences that are going on in the room. So we decided to do it via Zoom. So all our sessions are via Zoom. They're all free, and people can have as many sessions as they wish to have. They can start with us with pregnancy loss, and then if they become pregnant, they can stay with us for pregnancy after loss. So we walk the whole journey with the person as they need it. Some people need one session. They come to one session and that's it. They're like, yeah, that's it. I just needed to talk about it. I'm okay. Other people will come for a few months and have more sessions. So it's tailored to the actual individual need of the person. And we do support partners as well.
Yeah.
So
It's also amazing that what you're created. And it's so true that just hearing you say that too, when there's just no support, but even years after, it is changing. But the referral pathway is very much the same as it was even when I was going through my experience, was
yeah,
either you come out of the doctors with nothing, you're sent home, or you come out of the hospital with nothing, or maybe a pamphlet, or maybe you get a referral. But then it's up to you to try and figure out where to look, who you need, what you need in a time where you're like, I actually don't know what I need.
yeah,
There's just, you're in the depths of grief. Your body's going through so many shifts and changes. It's hard to make any sense of what's actually happening.
yeah,
And it's beautiful that you were able to set up back then when you were going through your losses, or out of that, set up the Pinks and Blues, because again, it is so very needed. And I often wonder, I'm like, because it is so hard to find when you're going through, like coming out of the doctor's surgery or whatever, because they're not necessarily referring people to you and to your service. It makes it that much a little bit harder to actually get your service out there. You're like, you actually do, you can use this. You do need this. You just don't know you that you need it. But to have this safe space, to feel seen, heard, validated, that would something that I needed coming out of my experience, because I felt like I was making everything up.
yeah. And I think that's important, is to feel validated. And I think the whole experience of pregnancy loss doesn't make you feel validated. It makes you feel a failure on so many different levels, that to come out and have someone say, it's okay what you're feeling, it's okay.
Mm,
Don't beat yourself up. There's a journey ahead of you, but you'll survive it.
yeah.
And I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. because you can go down a pretty dark spiral
Yeah.
afterwards because you essentially don't have anyone on the outside of you validating it and saying, it's okay, it's taking this long to move through it.
Yeah.
Or it's okay that you're having that thought. It's okay that maybe you don't feel emotions. Maybe you're so numb for such a long period of time. And it's okay to be angry and guilty and not guilty, feel guilty.
Yeah.
It's okay. But it doesn't mean that you stay there. When you have these places, these safe places to talk and to share, you can also see that you don't have to stay there. It's not this all consuming place for you to be for the rest of your life. You can share what's really heavy, but then also in these spaces, you get to see people who may be a little bit further along in something than you,
Mhm.
and it gives you hope.
Absolutely. And I think like one of the things that we say, it doesn't matter where you come on your journey, because not everybody does need to talk when they first go through it. They just need to get their heads around it a little bit before they're feeling in a position to talk about it. Some people don't talk about it, and that's okay. Not everybody has to. I
Mm.
think there's a bit of a sort of I'm not falling apart, why, what's wrong with me thing, and not everybody does.
Mm.
And that is okay as well. You, but there's still sometimes a need to talk about it, to talk about the experience, to enable you to get your head around what happened and to make plans for the future.
Yeah. It's a very human way of navigating things is to try to rationalize it. We try to make sense of what's happening. And when you're trying to do that on your own, there is no way that's going to happen. You just get
Yeah,
caught in thought loops and you can't get yourself out. Not that you can rationalize what happened, but to be able to talk about it allows you to move through those thoughts and to start to
yeah,
either hear yourself mentioning it and going, oh, that doesn't make sense. Or, you know, hearing someone else say it, you're like, oh, I felt that too,
yeah,
can start to help you move through those thoughts, move through those spirals that you might be in. And you mentioned something too with your own experience, like it was a very traumatic experience for you. And this is also something that is dismissed and downplayed in a lot of support, is that if the experience did feel big to you, then it is big and it needs also that validation as well. That was my experience, and I didn't get the validation straight away. It was through seeing a psychologist that she said that I had experienced it as trauma. And hearing that was like, oh, it was like a weight off my shoulders because I was like, okay, it felt big. It felt like I was making, like, it felt like I was over exaggerating everything.
yeah,
But to have that external validation of from a therapist saying it is trauma what you went through, it was validating to hear that, but also then, okay, now what? Now what do I do? How do I move forward with this? But a lot of times, if you've been sent home from the doctor's surgery or the hospital, there's generally no follow up. There's generally nothing for you to say, okay, let's check back in. How's my physical health, emotional health, mental health? There's generally nothing. And then we're left to navigate all of that on our own. And if there is trauma present, that just adds a whole nother layer to that healing process.
yeah. I think there isn't a recognition around how traumatic a pregnancy loss can be for some people. I know that my knowledge of miscarriage, especially, was very limited before I had my experiences. I didn't know that you could lose a baby in the second trimester. Like, I knew that you could have a miscarriage before 12 weeks. I didn't realise that a miscarriage in the UK is up to 24 weeks. There's a lot of awareness around that a miscarriage isn't just something that happens in the early weeks of pregnancy, and it is sometimes quite traumatic for people who are going through it for a variety of reasons, whether that's physical or emotional. It can be a huge life-changing event for people, and I think when you've been through such a significant event, it changes you as a person, so you have to have this whole redefining of who you are, and that's a lot of hard work. It's exhausting. It's like, why do I react this way now? I never used to react that way before. Why do I do this now? I never used to do that before. And on your own, that is a very lonely journey to towards healing.
Mm,
And I think that's something that I hope that with the Vilomah Foundation we can do that. We can support that journey and by enable people to be okay with their new you
mm.
type of thing.
Yeah. And like you said, it is a whole redefining of who you are. And what I've always, in my whole experience, and when I talk about it, it's like it strips everything back. Everything that you once believed about yourself, everything you once believed about your life,
Yeah,
it strips everything back and it's hard. That part is hard and it's painful, but it's also, it can be beautiful because then now you get to choose. You get to
yeah,
choose what you believe in. You get to choose how you want to show up in the world. You get to choose what your future looks like. And there's not too many experiences in our life where, that happens and we get to start again. We get
yeah,
to, I remember after my loss, that there was so much that I just didn't tolerate anymore. I was just like,
yeah,
nope, that's just not going to happen right now. But it is a whole identity shift as well. We have to reconnect to who we are got now that we've gone through that experience. What is our identity? Who do we identify with? And I think that there's a lot of that as well, where women who have experienced reproductive loss don't know where they fit anymore in
hmm,
life. They don't know where they fit in their life. Also, in, am I a mother? Am I allowed to do certain things now? And I think this is also, again, it's a choice. We are a mother. You are a mother, regardless of whether it's in your arms or not. You do get to choose. You're like, I can participate in Mother's Day. I can participate in that identity of being a mother.
yeah. And I think it's like it fundamentally changes relationships as well. And I think it's really important that the partner is acknowledged in this process. And one of the things that I always like to do is to check out how the partner is experiencing it, because some are that happened to her, and that's their understanding of it, and that's where they are. Others, it is much deeper than that, and can affect moving forward in their daily lives, and it's how they grieve as well. So that's a really big part of allowing them to grieve and to say it's okay for you to grieve as well, because it's that until you've been through that moment of this is my life, I'm going to be a parent, I'm good, like you start planning all of those events. I know we were thinking sort of 6 weeks pregnant and we're talking about what schools we want, what catchment area we wanted to be in, which was years off, but they're things that you start to think about. You're like, oh, we've got to redesign the house because we're going to have a baby in it, and all these things that go through your mind when you are pregnant. All of that is just snatched away from you, and it's what do I do with that? Because they were my hopes, they were my dreams, And I think the partner feels that as much as the birthing person does. It's important for them to also have an outlet to share that and to know that they weren't alone. I think like parents groups where both partners are there is really they're really valuable because they allow a safe space to communicate what you're feeling.
Yeah. I think for men too, it is that stigma of I can't fall apart, I can't show emotion.
Yeah,
So potentially having a space where they're not, like society is not viewing them and potentially they feel like they're being judged. It is really important for them to go through because, like you said, that it doesn't look the same, but they are still navigating emotions. They are still navigating
yeah,
a future. They're still navigating grief. They're still navigating the experience, but it's just looks different to what the woman is going through. And like you said, there is a lot of focus that does go on the woman and not so much the man. And I think I've had couples reaching out to me. I've had the wives reaching out for the husband, but I'm
yeah,
like, it also needs to be his choice to
absolutely.
to go through that. It is so important. There is support available if that's what they want to do. When we can see them struggling, it's hard if they won't put their hand up too, but it is valid what they're experiencing and to
Yeah.
have the safe space for them to explore it as well. If you're listening to this and feeling the pull to help bereaved mothers, but you're stuck wondering, what am I actually building? And can I make this work? I created something for you. It's called From Loss to Legacy, the 4-week immersion. Over 4 weeks, we crystallize your calling, your story as professional foundation, your purpose that will sustain you, your specific offer with proof bereaved mothers will invest, and your 12-month roadmap forward. You'll stop circling and start building. Here's the truth. The certification teaches how to support bereaved mothers with trauma-informed frameworks. But the immersion teaches you what you're building and whether this is your path. If you're ready to get clarity on your calling, DM me immersion on Instagram. Don't circle for years. Get clear now.
And I think sometimes, unfortunately, they don't feel that they have a right to that because they didn't physically go through it themselves. And I think it was quite interesting just last week. I was talking to the grandparent of of a baby that was lost, and she was talking about her grief and how like it's difficult to talk to a daughter because a daughter doesn't get it. And she's like, but I'm grieving as well because it was my granddaughter, it was my first grandchild. I wanted this as much for her, for my daughter, because I just knew it's what she wanted. And to hear her experience and for her to be able to share her experience of what it's like to be the grandparent in the situation as well, I think the ripples are far reaching from pregnancy loss.
Mm.
And that's not always recognised.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when you think about it, the grandparents, it's your child. You're watching your
Yeah,
child go through that. And also, you have the vision of that future too with them.
yeah,
When you said that, I immediately went back to the day that I told my mum and the grief that she shared with us on that day. She just sat and cried with us. And there is absolutely immense emotion and grief with the grandparent as well. Because, like you said, they've always got your best intentions at heart, but
yeah,
also it is the grandchild that they never got to witness growing up and go through that, their milestones, as much as you didn't get to do that. So, absolutely, their grief, their emotions, their future is valid. So, just quickly, you also help in the workplace too. What is it that you see? Because when you go through it firsthand yourself, you witness what's missing in the
Yeah.
workplace. But are they are the workplaces reaching out to you? Are you going into them and you're making them aware of what's needed?
It's a hard slog. There's a lot of reluctance to engage in the work. People will, when you have the conversation with people, they're like, "Oh, yes, that's really important." Actually, getting them to sign up for it is a whole different ball game. But with the workplace, it's come from my own experience, really, is that sort of like with my first two losses, my manager was excellent. Like, he couldn't have done more for me. He was like, take all the time you need, delete all the emails. If they want you, they'll find you. And, he was just, how are you? He'd check in on me, like, how are you doing? And he wasn't like an over emotional man.
Mm,
He was just a regular bloke. And he was just really, he just did what he felt was the right thing to do. And then in my next job, they brought in HR. So I was put on, had to have regular meetings, and it was all very much, do you know what impact you're having on the workplace? And I was just like, do you think I care? Like, really? And it was all very regimented and like tick box exercise. And I actually landed up losing my job because of it, because I had too much time off and I cost them too much money. So therefore, they decided that I would lose my job. And they put me through so much emotional turmoil
mm,
during that period, as if I wasn't going through enough. What I wanted to do is to say to workplace, you can be compassionate. You can follow the rules and regulations, but you can be compassionate and you can think about how this looks in your organisation. So we're looking at developing policies, and in England, they've just had it through Parliament that it's law now that anyone who has a pregnancy loss can have leave. It hasn't been confirmed how long that leave will be, whether it'll be paid, whether it be unpaid, but they're recognising that there's a period of time needed for parents who experience pregnancy loss. So it's working with companies to say to them, how is yours going to look? What's it going to look like in your organisation when somebody who has been through pregnancy loss comes back to work? And while they're off, what do you do?
mm,
How do you check in? One of the things that my first manager did with me was, he was really great. He was like, we'll go for a coffee somewhere. Whereas with the second manager, although my immediate manager was great, it was because she didn't know what she could or couldn't do that she called in HR, and HR were the ones that got very tick boxy and, we can't have this going on. It doesn't matter what she's been through, she's causing so much stress on the organisation. And they, so what I want to do is to work with businesses to say, you can do this, you can support people, and the more support that you offer, the more compassionate your work environment is, the better you get from your member of staff that's off, because they won't be taking long-term sick leave. They'll be productive when they're in the office. If you make some reasonable adjustments for them so that they can have some time off on special dates and anniversaries, for any follow-up appointments that they might have, then that's what we want to create, so that people don't feel, because I think as well there's still quite a stigma about telling people about a miscarriage, particularly because in the workplace it might be seen that, oh, they're trying to get pregnant, they might not get the opportunities that other people may get. So there is a big step in actually coming out and saying, look, I've experienced pregnancy loss. Can I have some time off to just get myself back together? And not that you ever get yourself fully back together, to be able to actually operate within the workplace and be functional.
Like you said, if the workplace goes about it the right way, they're only going to be helping their employees coming back and
Absolutely.
being more productive. If you're going about it the wrong way and like they made you feel like you were the worst person in the world for that organization, like how dare you're not going to want to, it's only going to add so much more, like you said, turmoil, more grief to your experience. And then in the end, I'm like, why would I want to go back anyway? But then you are afraid of losing your job and not
Yeah.
having an income. It makes it really hard. I was lucky in a way. To be honest, I don't know how my other work colleagues felt about me having time off, but I ended up having 5 weeks unpaid leave because I was like, I just physically can't go back. Like I mentally, I can't think straight. And I think that's the thing too, like when for the most part, women are forced back into, okay, you just got to go back to life. You've got to
Yeah.
do what you did before, do it exactly the same way, and not be phased really by what you've just gone through. But you've got essentially a body that is postpartum, you've got grief, you've got all of these emotions, you've got potentially trauma layered in. How do you go back to work with that and be expected to just function like a normal
Yeah.
human right from the start? And that was just one thing I knew I couldn't do. I was like, I physically can't do it. I was a dental nurse. So I was like, if you want me sitting with you in surgery, concentrating, it's not something that I can fully commit to.
Yeah.
And they were great. My boss was great. Like I said, I don't know, in my haze of that time, I don't know how the rest of the workplace felt about that. But in saying that, there was no protocols. There was nothing in place for that happening. It was just me going, I'm not coming back, pretty
Yeah.
much, until I know that I can, until I know that I can be productive with you enough, perform what I need to do with you. But I know, and it's also going back to work and having, you might think and feel that you're okay going back, and then something might trigger you in the workplace. You might be okay for a period of time, and then you're like, I'm just not okay at the moment. And for those moments to be acknowledged as well, because grief does not have a timeline and it can hit you at
Yeah.
random times too. And triggers are everywhere after loss. We can't avoid them. But if we're given the right tools and the right steps, we can still keep moving forward. And if the workplace allows for that, you're not going to be taking extra large amounts of time off. You can probably navigate it in real time.
Yeah. And that's what our training hopefully will enable workplaces to do. And to, I think, for people to feel confident in their workplace, knowing that if they do experience pregnancy loss, that they're going to be treated with compassion and understanding, and that there's not going to be this like, it was a week ago, you should be over it now, get back into work. Because as you say, grief isn't a short process, it's a long process, and it hits at varying times. And with my manager, I could say, when it came to anniversaries, it's an anniversary, do you mind if I just work at home for a couple of days? And or have a couple of days off. And they were really accommodating around that.
Yeah, it is a very it's a hard area to put a timeline on. You can't
Yeah.
say to someone, "Oh, I'll be good in like a broken leg. You'll be good in a few weeks." have a cast, have some crutches, you'll be good. And there's a timeline. We're carrying like internal wounds where there's no, physical healing timeline for that. And especially when it comes to grief, we know about the anniversaries and we can plan essentially for those, but there's the moments in between where you get a smell, you get a memory come back, and
Yeah.
you're hit with that grief again. And you're like, I don't know what to do here. And if you're not got a very receptive workplace to that, it's going to make that person feel really uncomfortable
Yeah.
to be able to communicate what's actually happening. And if they haven't said anything, even more challenging to have that conversation. But I remember having that when I made that phone call, because I hadn't obviously told, because it was an early loss for me, I hadn't told anyone that I was pregnant apart from my family. So I had to have that phone call with them, with my boss's wife, to say that I was pregnant and I'd had a miscarriage. So that was like in one sentence. I had to also try to say it fast enough so that she wasn't going to go, oh, congratulations, like in amongst,
Yeah.
I'm pregnant. And then, but I'm not anymore. So that was the hardest conversation to have. And if you've not said anything to the workplace, to try to also then get the support that you need. But hopefully, like you're trying to get more workplaces receptive to that support because it is so
Yeah.
needed. And it's only going to help their organization because they're going to have more productive members more consistently, as opposed to people who are wanting to not just be there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share that we haven't touched on already?
Can't think of anything. I think we've covered most of it, yeah.
Yeah. So, did you want to share? We have spoken obviously about how Vilomah supports people. If there's anything else that you wanted to share in relation to that, or how people can find you and connect with you and receive that support.
Yeah. So it's support is directly through our website, which is www.thevilomahfoundation.co. No, .org.uk. And Vilomah is Vilomah. And basically people just go on there, book a slot when they're which suits their timetable. There's group or there's one-to-one. One-to-one does include partners as well. So if somebody wants to come along with their partner, they're more than welcome to do that. And if you can make a time, it doesn't matter where you are. It's open for anybody to actually sign up for a session.
Yeah, amazing. And for anyone who's listening that might be in the workplace, is that information all on your website too?
No, they would need to contact me via hello@thevilomahfoundation.org.uk and ask about workplace training and we can sort that out.
Yes, amazing. Because the two sides of what you do is so very important. Helping, obviously, the woman, also helping the partner that is going through this experience with them. And like you said, the ripple effect also into the family dynamics, into the grandparents, into the extended family, and the workplace. The workplace does need, an overhaul in the way that they support their women employees. And I do hope that is, like I said, more well received moving forward for everyone.
Yeah, and just to say that the workplace bereavement leave that is just happening at the moment also includes the partner, so the
Yeah.
partner can actually have time off as well,
Yeah.
which I think is positive.
It is absolutely a step in the right direction, because either, like myself, I just knew I couldn't go back to work. It was a decision I made. I'm like, no, I can't do it. Or, and then for me, I took unpaid leave. Or they're forced back into work to go back in holding their whole experience and trying to navigate life. And it just doesn't work. We can't ignore what we've been through. We can't dismiss it. Our body knows, our body's moving through all of the things. We're also grieving. Our mind can't think clearly. There's so much that's happening. And to expect women to just, or even men as well, to just go back to normal afterwards, it's just unrealistic, really.
Mm.
But I'll make sure that everything of yours is linked in the show notes as well, so people can find you. Did you want to share where you are on social media so that people can find you? And I'll link that in as well.
So we're on Instagram as the Vilomah Foundation, and we're on TikTok as the Vilomah Found. He didn't give us enough letters for the whole foundation.
Damn
So
TikTok.
so yeah, and then on LinkedIn you can find us under the Vilomah Foundation as well.
Yeah, amazing. And like I said, I'll get you to send all that through. We'll link everything in there so people can get a bird's eye view of everywhere that you are and be able to find you, hopefully on one of those platforms, and reach out to you, even just send you an email. Catherine, I just want to thank you again for being a part of the podcast all the way from the UK, not at night, like it's really late for you there. So thank you so much for being here with us and sharing what you have been through, your experience, and what you do.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Thank you to all that have listened in. If this episode was valuable to you, I invite you to leave a review on Apple Podcasts, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode. Thank you for listening in with me today. I hope you found this episode helpful. If you did, I would absolutely love to hear from you. Take a screenshot of this episode, share it to social media, and tag me at instituteofhealing_PL. I love seeing what is resonating with you right now. If you want to chat further, I invite you to connect with me through Instagram. Head over and follow my Instagram account, send me a DM, and let's open the communication. If you want to know more about how you can be the support for others, head to the show notes and fill out the application form for the Pregnancy Loss Practitioner certification. I want to also note here that what I share within the episodes is not medical advice. If you need further support, please consult your doctor. Thank you again. Much love to you. Be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to supporting you on the next episode.